Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and yes, I'm still alive. Sorry for the delay in getting some things out, but wow, just kind of had to take a little bit of time off on this channel. So, I wanted to tell you a little bit more about Crew. Now, we've talked about Crew before, and I'm going to mention it as we go, but sometimes you get into something and then you start looking into it, and that takes you somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else, and pretty soon you're somewhere you didn't really plan on being, but hey, it's interesting, so I think you'll like it. So, here we go. I started with this article right here, which is from 2010. And yes, Maxine Waters was, it says charged on 3 counts, but really she wasn't, because the ethics committee said no, at the end, the end of it, they determined that no, she hadn't violated any ethics problems. And so, they said she was accused of it, and they charged her, but like I said, what they thought she did was that she was the head of the Financial Services Committee, and her husband had a lot of stock in this one bank, and she, kind of was in some dealings about that with the committee. It all ended up that Maxine Waters' husband, this particular bank I think it took a dive, and because he knew about it ahead of time, he didn't lose his shirt. I think that's what it was. But anyway, that really wasn't, as I was going through this, it was an interesting article. And as always, I'll leave the link down below. But that led me to, well, let's see. There is this Office of Congressional Ethics. So if they did an investigation, there should be a report here, right? Well, you go to the Office of Congressional Ethics, and there's the reports. You can go to the investigations. Well, as I started going through the investigations, I did come to it and everything. But, again, it just came out that here it says the committee adopted a report determining that the evidence does not establish that Representative Waters violated House rules. So it was like, really? The committee also issued a letter of approval to Representative Waters' chief of staff, Michael Moore, who is her grandson, by the way. So evidently this rule that they have that they can't, hire family or anything doesn't apply to grandchildren. Go figure. I don't know. But anyway, why aren't grandchildren like relatives? So they did issue a letter of approval to her grandson for taking certain actions on behalf of One United, which is the name of the bank, when he knew or should have known of Representative Waters' personal financial obligation. So there was something hunky going on there, but not enough to actually get her, in real trouble. But I thought it was interesting to read. So from there, I remembered, there's some stuff that has gone on before about various people, being investigated by this Office of Congressional Ethics. In fact, I had a video on Kellyanne Conway going through this particular, process of the ethics, although she's not congressional. So it didn't go through this particular office. It went through the Office of Special Counsel, which is not the same as the Special Counsel Mueller, anyway. So watch that video, you'll understand better. But in the process, here's how my thinking goes. I remembered an organization named Crew. Now, I've shared this with you many times, but evidently now when I came to this time, it won't let me go through the whole document, without having a subscription. So kind of interesting. I guess they got tired of people just reading things without having subscriptions. But anyway, I don't have a subscription. I think I may have to get it because I really want to download this document. But anyway, this is a document about David Brock's group, Media Matters, and these organizations, American Bridge for the 21st Century, and Crew, and Share Blue. Those are all part of this plan here that they made up, and it was a meeting that they presented it at that was going on exactly at the same time that our president right now was standing there being inaugurated, swearing to protect and defend our country from people just like this. So anyway, they have this coordinated plan of attack against Trump and anyone who supports him. And it specifically says that in this document. So anyway, I thought, well, let's go see what Crew's doing, because I'll bet that if Crew is involved in some of these things that have been coming out lately, that they're crowing about it. Because I'm sure if they're getting victories and they're putting in submissions to this Office of Ethics, you know, that's what's happening. Because if you look at this, when you go to the investigations, there's like several. This guy is a Republican too. And I don't know the specifics of any of these. I don't know who Oliver Schwab is. I don't know which side he's on. Sorry, I didn't look into that one. But you know, some of these are Republicans. Not all of them are Republicans, but there has been an attack, and it's being led by Crew, because Crew figures if they can't get him any other way, let's put these, you know, bogus claims of ethics violations. Now, they did this to Devin Nunes, remember? He had that, if you remember that video I did on Nunes's lawsuit that he has going, he mentioned it, that they trumped up these charges, and he connected Crew to it. He also connected a group called Campaign for Accountability, and in his lawsuit it's listed as CFA. So yeah, guess who they are? It was co-founded in May 2015 by Ann Weissmann, and I looked. Okay, I thought Weismann. Is she related to Andrew Weissmann? So I go to Andrew Weissmann's Wikipedia page and check this out. This is so crazy for this man who has been pretty high profile in the last year. Look at this. They don't even have the exact date of his birth. And it's so sparse. There's hardly anything here about this guy. It has no picture of him. It has nothing about, you know, who he's married to or anything like that. It's just very, very sparse. So kind of crazy that there's so little about Andrew Weissmann. But his has a double S here and a double N, so I don't believe that she's related to him. I just thought it was very interesting they had, you know, kind of the same name. So we'll come back to that. But remember, this Campaign for Accountability, and again, they were co-founded by her, and she was former legal counsel for the watchdog group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, which is CREW. That's what CREW stands for. Okay, so in other words, that organization is like intertwined with CREW, and they're the ones that were really going after Nunes. So we go back. It's just, it really does all start to come together. So I thought, let's check out their board for CREW here. And here's some of the people. Now, I didn't know a lot of these, so I thought, well, let's go look some of them up. Now, this Al Dwoskin, well, he is a board member. And let's see if I can find, I have a whole bunch of tabs open, you know that. And so I found out that this Al Dwoskin guy is pretty rich, evidently, and he has been a big donor to some various organizations, and most of them Democrat. And so I found this Daily Beast article on him, and he's not just considered a donor, he's considered a mega donor. Dem MegaDonor pulls funding from anti-vax group, regrets involvement. So I'm not going to say much more about that, but the Children's Medical Safety Research Institute was who he was backing, and then now he's seen the light when it comes to vaccinations. So he regrets it. Yeah. So anyway, I will leave that link down below, and you can read more about that. But it was founded by his wife at the time, and then they started getting a divorce, and you know, so things have been different, and yeah, anyway, so my foundation no longer supports work on this issue. So they disagree with her views on the dangers of vaccinations. So anyway, that's who this guy is. He's a Dem MegaDonor. Right there we see it, Dem MegaDonor. So I thought, wow, we're starting out good. But then this caught my eye, honorable, and I thought, yeah, Claire McCaskill. Yeah, we know her, right? Well, we know she's a Democrat, and she was running for re-election and lost. Whew. That was a good victory that we won there. Anyway, just to let you know, as of February of this year, she is a political analyst for MSNBC and NBC and a visiting fellow at the University of Chicago Institute of Politics. So she's cloning other little people to go on after her. Yeah, in the same vein. So anyway, that's who we have, and you probably already knew her, but let's go on. That led me to the Honorable Claudine Schneider. Well, Claudine Schneider, oh, get this. Claudine Schneider is a Republican, all right, from Rhode Island. But if you read through this, you start finding out some information. And yeah, she's no longer in Congress. She was for a short time. And she's a resident of Boulder, Colorado, which speaks volumes if you've ever been to Boulder. It's, yeah, pretty liberal, environmental focus. They're probably the first place that banned straws, plastic straws, in Colorado. Anyway, where she works as an independent consultant specializing in environmental matters and ecological economics. So we've got that going on. She may be a Republican in name, but I'm kind of thinking she's not walking the conservative road right now. So anyway, we've got her. Then we go back and we look. Let's see. Who else did I? Honorable Mickey Edwards. And he was also a Republican, I think. And then, but it says here that Edwards said that he had voted for Barack Obama in the 2008 general election. So that kind of tells you where he's at right now, right? Okay, and then we have this one down here. I mean, this name just kills me. Zephyr Teachout. Yep, that's a hippie name. Oh, by the way, her middle name is Rain, which I'm sure surprises everybody. But anyway, so yeah, she was among the minority of Democratic congressional candidates who endorsed Bernie Sanders. So she's a Bernie Sanders person, and, you know, she wants to raise the minimum wage. That's what she wanted, and she didn't get elected to the House, but she wanted to be. So anyway, she wants to see it, and they want to see it overturned, the Citizens United versus the FEC, which would really change things and, you know, not for good. That's for sure. So anyway, those are their board members. I didn't look up the other ones, but I did find an article on them. And again, all of these will be down below, so you can read them. This is an article called Who's Who at Crew. Yeah, Crew Exposed. So kind of an interesting website here. I'm not sure how it's been kept up because the last thing I see here is 2018, you know, from August though. So I don't know, but it's got a lot of good articles and things going on, and it's just gives you a little bit of overview of who Crew is and, you know, how it was started. And some of it is not like, it's not going to have exactly the same people as I showed you on the board because, like I said, I don't think they've updated it, but it does tell you about some of the main people and the drivers of it. So yes, they are definitely, you know, Democrats. Yeah, this guy, you know, Democrat pollster and strategist. So, and to head up Crew, Eisen and Company tapped Melanie Sloan. She was the face of the organization until 2015 when she left Crew to found a public affairs firm alongside liberal activist and Progress Now founder Michael Huttner. Sloan has a long history of working in Democrat politics. And so, yeah, it just, and actually David Brock, it says somewhere up here, David Brock, here it is. In 2014, Clinton machine fixer David Brock was elected chair of the Crew board. Brock runs several super PACs and 527 groups with close ties to Hillary Clinton. After the 2016 election cycle, Brock ceded control of the board to Norman Eisen, and evidently he has ceded control because he's not the head of the board anymore. He's not on the board. Ostensibly to ensure Crew's public reputation for nonpartisanship. Yeah, but a leaked memo published in Washington Free Beacon, which is the memo that I just showed you, that's where it originally came from, detailed Brock's continued influence over the organization and its role in his network of liberal attack organizations. So, and it says one Republican that often signs his name to Crew is Vice Chair Richard Painter. However, in August of 2016, he endorsed Hillary Clinton in a much-touted New York Times op-ed. So, in other words, yeah, they've got like 2 token Republicans, and yeah, they both voted for Democrats. So, are they really Republicans? I guess not. Anyway, so this is the setup, all right? So we've got this organization. This is the board. We know kind of what they are. And of course, you can go through and you can find out what they do. Well, when you go to what they do, you can find out that they took on this lady right here, Lynne Patton, reprimanded for multiple Hatch Act violations. I told you they would crow. That's what they're doing here. They're crowing because they targeted this lady and they got her, reprimanded for multiple Hatch Act violations. Wait till you see these horrible violations she's guilty of. You will be absolutely appalled that she could do these horrendous acts. Okay, here we go. So here is the release and everything. And if you go on down, you find the letter that was sent back to them from the Office of Special Counsel. Because again, this lady is not working in Congress, so she wouldn't be with that Office of Congressional Ethics. She's with the Office of Special Counsel, just like Kellyanne Conway. Okay, so Noah Bookbinder, this is their executive director for Crew. So if you hear that name, you know where it's coming from, because I've seen this name before, because it's kind of an odd name, so it's stuck in my brain. And I didn't know who the guy was, but I thought it was one of those that someday I need to look this guy up. Well, now I know who he is. He is the executive director of Crew. So when you see him from here on out, if he's in any articles or anything, you know who he is. Anyway, so here it is. This letter is in response to 2 complaints you filed with the U.S. Office of Special Counsel alleging that Lynne Patton, Regional Administrator for the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, violated the Hatch Act. As explained below, OSC concluded that the alleged activities were Hatch Act violations and issued her a warning letter. Although OSC concluded that Ms. Patton violated the Hatch Act, we decided her violations do not warrant disciplinary action and are closing our files without further action. I'm sure they were upset about that. And of course, in their press release, they don't mention that. The Crew people, they want it to look like, yes, we're doing the work for the people. We're exposing corruption. All right, you ready to see what corruption this woman did? Here we go. It's really bad. Hang on. The Hatch Act restricts certain political activities of federal executive branch employees and prohibits them from, among other things, using their official authority or influence for the purpose of interfering with or affecting the result of an election. This prohibition includes, for example, using one's official title while engaging in political activity or otherwise participating in political activity while in one's official capacity. I just keep thinking of all those text messages Peter Strzok sent to Lisa Page. Anyway, going on. The Hatch Act also prohibits employees from engaging in political activity while on duty or in a federal room or building. Political activity is defined as activity directed toward the success or failure of a political party, partisan political group, or candidate for partisan political office. Your first complaint alleged that Ms. Patton used her official Twitter account, and there it is, to engage in a political activity. Because Ms. Patton uses this Twitter account for official purposes, the Hatch Act prohibits her from using it to engage in political activity. At issue are 4 tweets that Ms. Patton liked through her official account. On December 22nd, 2017, she liked a tweet from President Donald J. Trump's Real Donald Trump account, which endorsed then-Congressman Ron DeSantis' Florida gubernatorial candidacy. Oh, how awful of her to have liked a tweet. On February 7, 2018, she liked a tweet from RNC Chairman Ronna McDonald that opposed Senator Joe Manchin and read in part, "If Joe Manchin can't be honest about where he stands, he doesn't deserve to stand for West Virginians." On April 19, 2018, she liked a post from @GOP which advocated in favor of confirming Mike Pompeo as Secretary of State. Oh, how awful she is. And on April 25th, 2018, she liked a tweet from Kanye West which read, "My MAGA hat is signed," and included a picture of his signed campaign hat. Oh. Liking tweets that advocate for or against partisan political candidates, originate from a political party, or include pictures of campaign materials constitutes political activity for purposes of the Hatch Act. Thus, OSC concluded that Ms. Patton violated the Hatch Act by liking these tweets because she used her official Twitter account to engage in the activity. Your second complaint, it gets worse. Your second complaint alleged that Ms. Patton violated the Hatch Act by displaying a campaign hat in her HUD office. On March 30th, 2019, Ms. Patton was profiled in a New York Magazine article about her role at HUD. Accompanying the story was a photograph of Ms. Patton sitting at her desk in her HUD office with a red USA hat displayed on a shelf behind her. Okay, this was not a MAGA hat. This was a USA hat. Oh, imagine somebody in the HUD office loving their country enough that they had a red USA hat. Oh, no. Oh, after the article was published, it was discovered that the hat was an official USA 45th presidential hat sold on the Trump-Pence campaign website. It said USA. Who cares where it came from? Displaying a campaign hat in the federal workplace violates the Hatch Act's prohibition against engaging in political activity while on duty or in a federal room or building. But OSC's investigation found that neither Ms. Patton nor HUD Ethics Council realized the campaign was selling the USA hat until after these allegations were made public. Once Ms. Patton became aware the campaign was selling the hat, she immediately removed it from display in her office. How awful of this woman. Jeez. She should be tarred and feathered, don't you think? Anyway, although OSC concluded that Ms. Patton violated the Hatch Act by unwittingly displaying a campaign hat in her office and liking partisan political tweets on her official Twitter account, we have decided not to pursue disciplinary action and are closing our files without further action. Ms. Patton has been advised that if in the future she engages in prohibited political activity while employed in a position covered by the Hatch Act, we will consider such activity to be a willful and knowing violation of the law, which could result in further action. Well, this wasn't by our friend Henry here, but, still, she's deputy chief. You gotta wonder. Okay, this was my thought. As I was reading through this, I thought, who in the world has time to sit there and watch these Twitter feeds? You don't just happen along somebody liking something and go, gee, that person liked that. And you know what? They're not supposed to because that's a violation of the Hatch Act. What normal, intelligent person has the time to sit there and do that? Well, crew does. That's what they're being paid to do. To sit there and monitor all Republicans and to find any little thing like that they can to put in an ethics violation. And with Devin Nunes, they even manufactured them. So if they can't find one, they'll make something up. That's how it works. That is crew. And they dare to call themselves ethical watchdogs. Anyway, so this Andrew Weissmann lady, she serves as crew's chief counsel, And I did want to point out again, because I said it, but you may not have caught that, this Campaign for Accountability, she co-founded it. And they work side by side with Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. It needs to add a little extra onto that, because it needs to be Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington only if they violate the Democrats and what we believe. Because those are the only ones they go after. Now, I don't know 100% for sure that they only go after Republicans, but I would kind of bet that if you look through their files, there'd be very few Democrats in there that they've been responsible for. And on their website, if you go back here, this is what they see themselves, responsible to do. They use the law as a tool to hold public officials and politicians accountable for unethical and illegal behavior, and to bring improper conduct, according to their view, to the public's attention. They claim that they only, are doing this for abuses of campaign finance, ethics, tax, other rules. Then they file complaints. If those agencies don't do their job, we file lawsuits to compel them to enforce the law. So you can see what they're doing. You can even look at the lawsuits, the FOIA requests they've got going. I'm telling you, this organization right here is just not a good group of people. And when you look at them, they're fighting against money's corrosive influence in politics. Yeah, and I wonder how much they're being paid to do that. And who's giving them the money to do that? So don't you think that the people that are funding them are the people who are actually wanting them to do things that will help them? So it's like they're complaining against people funding anything that is Republican, but they're fine with being financed by Democrats so they can do this and try to take down Republicans. That really is what's going on, folks. Definitely. And, they go through and they make it sound like they think they're champions, but that's not what's happening. They use the law as a tool. Yeah. Abuse the law is more like it. And you can go here and you can see, their latest conquests. That's where I went. And, you've got all these different things that they're talking about. And this term of dark money, that has become their watchword almost. And it's only dark money, by the way, if it's going to fund a Republican. If it's money that goes to fund a Democrat, it's never called dark money, right? Yeah, never. And so here's that one right there. And they're taking on Trump Jr., Don Jr., and just, you go through, and this is where they're boasting. See, they tried to get Barr out, at least recuse himself from the Russia investigation. Why? Because they knew what he was going to do. Yeah, that he was going to really take it on there. And this is where they're boasting. They're boasting about how they're taking down Republicans. This is what they're doing. So that's what I've got for you on this one. It's quite an organization. And, I don't like visiting their sites, but if I visit their sites and I see what they're all about, then I can talk about them on a more educated basis. And I know who they are, and I know what they're doing, and just kind of have to keep track of them. So I'm pretty sure that whenever you see an ethics violation claim, they're probably behind it. If it's against a Republican, of course. But, so that's who they are. And it's just kind of an interesting group. You can actually see, here's their team, which includes Bookbinder, and then some of the others. And here's that Ann Weissmann again. So, yeah, I didn't really know any of these others. And short of going through and researching them all, which would have taken quite a while, I didn't do that. But I don't know, maybe some of you know some of these guys. It just, amazing to me. They call themselves up here. It is just too funny. They somewhere. Sorry. It's got to be the about us. Okay, let's see here. Uses high-impact legal actions to target government officials who sacrifice the common good to special interests. Well, then, I got a whole bunch of Democrats. Where were you guys during Obama's administration? Oh, there was so much you could have put out there about them, but oh no. And they even call themselves aggressive. They use aggressive legal action. So they see themselves, it's kind of like bullies. That's just amazing. And there was somewhere where it says they are, composed of a small but nimble group, of lawyers, researchers, and communicators. So, yeah, that's what they say about themselves. And here's where they're crowing again. Crew has achieved major successes since 2003 in holding accountable those who abuse the system. Well, then why are we finding all this stuff out now about all the abuses of the system that went on under Obama? Because they weren't doing their job then. They didn't want to look at those people. So, yeah. And they claim to be bipartisan, but they're not. They only have, they've got about 25 people, I think, that work for them. And, it's 23, I believe. There were 23 people and 19 of them are Democrats. So, yeah, bipartisan. That's how they define bipartisan. And we know at least 2 of those are ones that voted for Democrats. Like one voted for Hillary and another one voted for Obama. And we know that because they said that. So, yeah, that's the fairness of the system, right? They're bipartisan, all nice and fair. Oh, yeah. So, next time you see somebody hit with an ethics violation, some Republican, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying it can't be true. Believe me, I know there's a lot of Republicans who do wrong things, but with Crew in there, it doesn't necessarily have to be true. They just make it all up. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.